Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
Financial Survival Network is presented to you by Regal Assets. Buy and sell physical gold and silver through your existing retirement plan, 100% tax-free with Regal Assets. If you want to include physical gold or silver in your existing IRA or old 401k, request your free investment kit, which was recently featured in the Forbes and Smart Money Wall Street Journal magazines. Call toll-free 855-678-6620, 855-678-6620, or visit regalassets.com. This is Kerry Lutz, and you are listening to the Financial Survival Network. It's brought to you by PrepareWise. Go to preparewise.com. Get your emergency preparedness food now. Type in Lutz in the promo code. You'll get a special deal, but don't wait any longer. You never know when this system is going to break down, which is why we're talking to Rick Ackerman, because Apple is broken down. Has it hit its all-time high? And what does that portend for the market and for the world economy? Rick, how are you?
Good. Thanks for inviting me on, Terry. And let me just back up just a little bit concerning these emergency foods, rations. My wife has actually written on that subject, but I think we're a little unprepared, and I keep telling her to lay in a supply in the basement because it can't hurt really. That day comes when the supply chain has been disrupted.
Yeah, which could happen for any number of reasons. We see it all the time. Anytime a disaster hits, hurricane, earthquake, whatever, the supermarket shelves get wiped out. You still have the visions of Hurricane Katrina or Hurricane Andrew. I put in an order to these guys. They've been making the stuff for 20 years. It tastes half decent. My fear is always the supply chain will be disrupted and what I have to eat to sustain myself will taste so badly that I don't want to live. Well, that's not the case with PrepareWise. I really recommend it. For a few $100, under $1,000, you could be stocked up for your whole family for months. And honestly, if it goes more than a month or two, we're going to have a lot more problems, and I don't want to think about it. But to have a month's supply of food, as well as stock up some bags of rice, beans, whatever. I mean, we weren't really getting into this, but I think it's so important, and I tell everybody, do it, and do it as soon as you can. And, on that note, Rick, what is going on with these markets? Gold should be going through the stratosphere with QE3 and unlimited, nonstop, unstoppable QE3 around the world.
Well, let's start with Apple, which you mentioned.
Sure.
I've been following Apple very closely as a bellwether. It's really not just a bellwether. It represents the entire hopes and aspirations of American GDP. The company's stock made its high on iPhone Friday a few weeks ago, and I guess you could say that the hoopla and the hubris reached an all-time high as well. There was a fever pitch. Yeah. And iPhone sales were not a disappointment. You really can't say that any item that sells millions and millions of units at hundreds and hundreds of dollars is a flop.
And they're still sold out, too. They're still sold out on them, by the way.
Yeah, they did, but they screwed up terribly on the maps.
Yeah.
In order to get around Google, they used their own lousy maps, and it really rankled the iPhone faithful.
Oh, let me tell you about that. It's funny you should mention that, Rick, because, I just moved to Florida, and I want to go to this restaurant called Guanabuanas. It's supposed to have a great happy hour, good food. So I say, take me to Guanabuanas, and we're driving, and I wind up in a deserted street in the middle of nowhere. The place doesn't even have any street lights. I'm about 5 miles out of the way in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, God damn you, Apple. Why couldn't you have just cut a deal with Google? You have to be so proud and, you hate Google, and this is what you do to me. And I've had a couple other instances with them. So now I just use the GPS in the car and it's much easier. But you're so right. They shot themselves in the foot on that, which is not a major thing, but it perhaps is a portent of things to come.
Well, a point that I raised in my newsletter was that they may have soured their karma, so to speak, when they went after Samsung. The basic issues decided were so picayune. Apple was essentially arguing a patent on the shapes of certain rectangles. It was design elements of the phone and the icons.
Yeah.
And I think that a supposedly world-beating company is not. It's no longer looking like a world beater when it goes after a competitor over such trivial concerns. So even though they won the suit, I think it was a Pyrrhic victory. Samsung is back in court trying to get claw some of it back. But I just think it made Apple look bad to have sued over such non-issues.
Yeah.
Anyway, the stock is so heavily owned by institutions, and it's been up. It really has made all of the institutional bozos look like geniuses because they've simply stayed long the stock, and it's gone higher. And the ownership is about 80% institutional. It's the biggest cap company in the world, so it's an obvious bellwether for the markets. And to me, it's pretty clear that the stock market as a whole is not going higher if Apple is sinking. So Apple's been dragging it down. I have to say, though, I always leave room to change my mind. And if you look at the monthly chart, what's happened in Apple so far, they peaked just above 700, the all-time high. And it's come down to yesterday a low of 623. I had a 619 target on the pullback. And because it missed that by a little bit, it started up. That's a potentially bullish sign. So I'd say keep your eye on Apple. I surely will, because it's very crucial. I've got a forecast out as well for a 1,400-point rally in the Dow. That would actually be a little more than that now, but my target was 14,969. And even though I put that number out, not really believing it, technically it's still true enough. It's viable. So, I'm keeping an open mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's so interesting that one stock can distort everything, It could change it all and make it look so much better than it really is.
Well, I think that Apple it's not so much a paradigm changer. It reflects a broader change that we might not be able to even intuit in all the things we follow, whether it's the broad averages or particular stocks that are, it could be the transportation average or whatever. But I think that if Apple is turning down, it reveals a potential psychological change in the way investors are thinking.
Yeah, it's definitely a blow to the market for sure. And it's something you need to be thinking about if you've got money in the market. Although, the individual participation rate now in the market, Rick, it's never been lower.
I can believe that too. I mean, what is there to do except buy the market at heights that most people think are not? The market's a dangerous buy up here. Even the institutional managers who are forced to apportion their money so that some of it is in stocks can't feel comfortable invested at these levels. It's discounting good times for forever and ever. And we all know that with Europe sinking and the U.S. Tending statistically more toward recession, that there's no good reason to be buying up here.
Yeah, well, they also say, though, that stocks climb higher on a wall of worry. But it seems like this whole bull market has been so manipulated, the way that stocks have gone higher and higher when the underlying economy has really gone down. It seems that their value as a leading indicator and a barometer of the existing market conditions in the U.S., it seems to have really diminished as a result of overall decay of the markets.
Well, you can't say that the markets have not gone up for no reason. Corporate earnings have certainly improved. The problem is they've improved because of two things. Companies aren't doing any hiring, and they aren't giving their employees raises. Mm-hmm. So, as Henry Ford used to say, the only way you're going to make out in business is to pay your workers. And sooner or later, the effect of stagnant wages and stagnant employment numbers they have to catch up with the stock market. And what we may see right now is a consumer-led recession. They're all going to be consumer-led simply because our economy is more than 2/3 consumption-based.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. So gold and silver, obviously they've edged higher. It seems like they're well off their market bottoms from a couple of months ago, but they're kind of hitting a channel sideways pattern now, aren't they?
Yeah, and as boring as gold and silver have become, you have to hold on to them. You have a monetary blowout. The supply of dollars is certainly not diminishing, especially with QE3 targeting the mortgage market. So the more dollars there are in circulation, the less scarce they're going to be, the less valuable they'll be. So I think gold and silver are absolute no-brainers. But I think where the problem is that for all the talk about monetization, QE2 and QE3, QE 3.5 and 4 and 5, QE is yet to come, that the reality where the rubber meets the road is still very deflationary. Whatever Draghi, the head of the European Central Bank, has been blathering about, we really don't see an inflation that's lifting Europe's economy at all, even in the way of producing price inflation. So they're already kind of mired in deflation, and I think that's a preview of what's coming for the U.S.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, we got this government deficit, so they have to keep printing up money just to service that, because there's not enough money in the world, because it seems like all the countries that you think have all the money, they're all running out of money.
Yeah, and for all of those guys who think that we're going to somehow continue to muddle along as we've been doing, there is that fact that when you add to a deficit, a federal deficit, at the rate of more than $1 trillion per year, you're not standing still. You're really digging yourself deeper in a hole. And of course, any trend like that is unsustainable, it has to end. I think it was Ben Stein's father who said something to that effect, that any trend that can't keep going on forever will simply go the other way at some point. And adding $1 trillion every year, more than $1 trillion to the federal deficit, is one such trend.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that it could go on as long as it has. But I'm inclined to agree with you. The trend will continue until it stops. And then when it stops, everyone will be saying, oh, yeah, I knew it was going to happen. I knew it. There was never a question. But, of course, they were the ones that were playing the trend at the time, because that's just human nature, I think. But obviously, we're getting to the end of the game here, because the system just seems to be decaying and breaking down before our eyes.
Well, bells aren't going to ring, but as I said, I think Apple is a very good place to keep your eyes and to keep focused, because if Apple ain't going higher, then nothing else is.
Yep.
And it's a very crucial bellwether. As far as the political winds, I don't think that Romney will make a difference. I think that Romney is almost a shoo-in, and that I have a feeling he's going to get more than 300 electoral votes.
Oh, yes. I totally agree with you. I think I never believed that Obama was winning this race. I never believed it. I think that was just media diatribe and hype. Well,
I think it was worse than that. I think it was a systematic and malicious attempt to marginalize Romney. Everything he said, they underreported it, they misreported it. And when Romney got directly in front of the American people in the debates, people saw the real Romney. It wasn't a new Romney. It was simply the same old guy, but saying things that the press had suppressed for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't trust the polls at all. They have all swung, even in the state of Ohio, they've swung in Romney's favor. But I don't think Obama's going to do any better in the next two debates. And especially with this business concerning Libya brewing up, it really shows the foreign policy not only in shambles, but to be essentially a pack of lies with respect to, why the assassination of our ambassador occurred.
Oh, yeah, and there's one other thing. Now, normally, vice presidential debates make absolutely no difference. But this one is going to come on the heels of Obama's loss. And 72% of the U.S. population said that Obama lost. All right? When was the last time 72% of the U.S. population ever agreed on anything, whether the earth is round or flat, or, whether college kids really like beer or they don't like it? They don't agree on anything, but this they agreed on. And now I think Biden is going to get chewed up like a groundhog going through a lawnmower, and that will cement everybody's view that this administration is even more incompetent than all the others before it, which is really hard to do when you think about it, and it will be game over then. I think people will shut the TV off, and they will not turn it on again until after election night. They will not listen to another commercial or watch another interview or another debate. Once Biden acquits himself in his usual buffoonish fashion, it's over.
It's an interesting thing about Biden. I've always thought of him as a total nitwit.
Yeah.
And there are other problems in his past as well that reflect even on his integrity. But oddly enough, Peggy Noonan, who does a great conservative column for the Wall Street Journal, did a whole piece about a month or so ago on how Biden is just her idea of a great politician. He says the right things, he does the right things, and it really surprised me to have that coming from Peggy Noonan. So I'll be interested to see whether it translates in the debates as something that will at least give Biden a leg to stand on.
He's finished, man. Ryan, I don't like any of them. I think we both agree on that. But whatever you think about them and their desire to really change the system and reform it, which no one's talking about, obviously, getting rid of the debt and stopping the Federal Reserve getting to sound money, we all agree that those are the ways that we get back to greatness, and no one's going to do it. But whatever you say about Ryan, the guy is smart. He's a sharp guy, highly articulate, intelligent, and able, he eviscerated Obama at that Medicare, Obamacare meeting they had in the White House, to the point where Obama gave him the finger, if you notice that very subtly. And, this Biden is just an idiot. He's a world-class idiot, and he was chosen to be the VP because he's an idiot, and he provides absolutely no threat and no check to what the true puppet masters of Obama are doing. That's his purpose. So now that the bloom is off the rose, people are going to be looking at this much differently. And once this thing goes through, man, once this debate's done, Rick, it's over. And you might as well just not even, just turn the TV off, because it's pointless. Anyway, we got to wrap up, but next time we talk, we'll talk more about specific markets and hidden pivot points that you see coming for them. And we find your website, rickackerman.com. Do you have another one? I don't remember.
Rick's Picks is where it's at. It's rickackerman.com, and there is a sign up for a free 7-day trial at rickackerman.com. It's not all blather with the commentary every day. I do put out some really specific and detailed trading advice. I always try to put out a trade now and then that anyone can do and make money enough to pay the cost of the subscription. So I invite all your listeners to come and give us a try and visit the chat room, which goes round the clock.
Yeah, and I've seen in the past that, I don't put a lot of faith in a lot of market technicians and timers, but your calls, Rick, have really been so on the money for so long that, have to give the devil its due. So, Rick, we'll talk to you again soon. Don't forget, go to PrepareWise, get the food now before you really need it, because when you need it, you're not going to be able to get it. So we'll talk to you again soon, Rick.
Good talking to you, Kerry. Take care. I'll see you in San Francisco in November.
Looking forward to it. You be well.
Bye-bye now.